This is the network service of the NTA.
They are smart, intelligent, change agents, leaders, our mothers, sisters, daughters, friends who are doing everything humanly possible to add value to humanity, but oftentimes marginalized. Today, as we, look forward to celebrating the International Women's Day, we thought it wise to set the agenda by celebrating women who are against all odds, making significant impact in the society today. Welcome to the studios of Weekend Deal. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show. My name is Suleiman Babajia Usman. Well, thank you for staying with us. And as we, started, as we said earlier, women are very instrumental in any society's, quest for sustainable development. And over the years in Nigeria, women have managed to carve niche for themselves in the economic sphere, science, education, and name it. But right now, let's take this background report as we look at the impact women are making in the society despite daunting challenges.
Women are the bedrock of every society. In the beginning, God created them both male and female. Little wonder in Nigeria we have had the likes of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, Margaret Ekpo, Ladi Kwali, Virginia Etieba, Grace Alele Williams.
Koje Wela is one woman I respect so much today, tomorrow. I will always respect her because she has distanced herself as a Nigerian woman, a former Minister of Finance, now the Director General, World Trade Organization. Let me go to the local. To Benin, there's a grassroots woman, let me put it that way, because she was frying akara. That akara business she does, she makes this akara with palm oil. Very nice. Both the rich, the poor come there to buy akara. And the woman has used that akara to train her children. And she has built 2 houses from selling akara. Consistency. She might not have the name like I called earlier, but she has impacted my life. What I learned from her was consistency. That a woman can be who she wants to be if she's determined to do that.
I love the idea of Awoshika. I love her dexterity. I love how she's able to balance public and private sector. Alakija also naturally comes to mind, the way she's been able to balance family life with her business as well as her social life.
Nigerian women are hardworking people who inspire others around the world with their determination to succeed, no matter the odds against them. Many of these people have proven that once there is a will, there is a way.
My growing up, my mother is an entrepreneur. She was selling bag of rice. She was selling Kora beads. She was doing a lot of things. She's a businesswoman to the core. So we all grew up as daughters. There's not my sisters that have not gone through that lane, So when I was going, I got that inspiration from her. I started when I was in school. I was still doing business. Even before I went to school, I used to go to, because we were in the barracks then, my dad was the senior officer in the barrack. I used to make my kiosks where I sell banana, season, I sell plantain, I sell the mango, everything, sherry, I sell everything. I roast corn. My success today is not because I met important people in the government or I met this, I met that. No, it was from the beginning. I started, as I grew up, I started traveling out to the country, I started selling shoes.
It's not surprising when you see a woman who is just a roadside businesswoman being able to put her act together bring out something from the ordinary to become extraordinary. So a woman naturally is wired to be a producer, a multiplier, and a nurturer.
The stories of such women are inspiring, motivational, educational, and worthy to be imitated as role models for youth and others.
As a role model, you must give out something that is substantial in the lives of those who are looking up to you. Even designers who are doing, I even mentor them and tell them this is the way to do, this is the way to go, because I find that it's not just about setting up a business, it's more than that. Because there are things that it takes to set up a business and make the business succeed. If you don't follow those principles, definitely you will go back to where you come from.
I have mentees, but I've noticed a trend which calls for caution and correction immediately. Most mentees come with a mindset of entitlement. A mentorship relationship is a process of learning so that the mentee avoids the setback, the pitfalls and gaps that the mentor went through.
About half the population of Nigeria is female, but women occupy only about 20% of managerial positions. There have been only few women deputy governors. No woman sits as Senate President or Vice President.
It pained me, I cried to hear that doing this clause by clause constitutional amendment bill. Even the president wife went there. At the end of the day, we are talking about 20%. What is 20 and 15%? What is wrong? Why are the men afraid? Afraid of what?
It was shocking, I must say, because I expected more. I didn't expect 100%, but then I expected more than what was given. Let us use the available process, that is legislation and every legitimate way, to get into the system, sanitize the system, and then create a fair level ground for both the men and the women. And only then would we say, don't ask for special seats. But for now, we have to, because the system is not fair. The odds are stacked against the women.
Women play a very important part in the well-being and existence of all men, dead or alive. Therefore, the need to give them maximum support needed to grow cannot be overstated. Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on women in Nigeria who are making giant strides against all odds.
Some have actually said that if the woman is adequately empowered, it will go a long way in ending that intergenerational cycle of poverty in our society today. And to talk further about the impact women are making in the society despite all odds, we have joined us in the studio Lola Ibrahim. Lola Ibrahim is an architect and a gender equality advocate, also a property consultant and president, Women Against Violence and Exploitation Foundation. You're welcome to our studio.
Thank you for having me, Suleiman. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you listened to our first report, the second report about Omo Bola, and just earlier on, I read this editorial, International Women's Day, Women Still Seeking Relevance. Of course, when we talk about, women participation in the scheme of things, we cannot escape making reference to the Beijing conference. Many years down the line, are women still seeking for relevance in the society today?
Absolutely. I mean, what happened in NAS is evidence enough that we're still seeking relevance. We're asking for 35% affirmative action in leadership. We're asking to be recognized as indigenous of our husband states. We're asking for our husbands who are foreign born to be recognized as citizens of Nigeria, and NAS said no. And when it's time for politics, they remember we exist. So we're still seeking for relevance. And predominantly, gender relations and gender norms are prevalently, rooted in patriarchal society. So you see that a lot of men are holding positions either in leadership, in religion, in the corporate industry, and very few women given these same opportunities. And these are just because of the stereotype that society has seen, the woman. And for me, in my own, the way I look at it is twofold. There's the way society has conditioned our mind to function. And then there's also the restriction that women place on themselves, either in terms of self-esteem, in terms of, doubting our capabilities. Coming here this morning, I was looking at myself, okay, so what should I wear? Should I wear trousers? Should I wear wrapper? Should I, so those are subconsciously, those are things that society has put in our mind. We have to dress in a certain way. We have to speak in a certain way. We have to sit in a certain way. Now I'm wondering, should I cross my feet? Should I sit straight? So those are subconsciously, we grew up with that. And as we grow, these things remain with us. So we have to unlearn, relearn. And, those ones that we think are good for us, we go with it. And women also need to team up and fight for our cause, because the men will not give us what we want easily. That is their role, and they believe that is their prerogative to decide for us. In about 15 states of House of Assemblies, there are no women, and these are places where decisions that concern women are being made daily. So why would you not give us a seat at the table? If women are there, it gives us more room for national development and economic empowerment. Women are excluded in practically every aspect. When you're looking at economic empowerment, women are excluded. Every day they talk about it. Yes, women have 50% stake, but how many women, realistically speaking, have access to some of these things?
Okay, it's very important that you talked about the economic empowerment, because some are saying that instead of seeking that political relevance, perhaps the conversation about women empowerment should begin from the economic perspective, because if you have that in check, it will definitely, the ripple effect will be everywhere in other sectors.
That is not correct. It's important. If more women were in the NAS, what happened on the 1st of March wouldn't have happened. So we have about 7 women who are CEOs of banks presently. So is that not economic empowerment? That is economic empowerment. But you need women where policies...
Economic empowerment, not just people who have made it,
As
we're talking about the rural
industry.
women, we're talking about women in the villages and all of that.
If you have women in the rural villages, about 60 to 79% of the informal rural sector are women. But a man is 5 times more likely to own land than the woman. So even when you say you have empowered a woman, is it the 5,000 naira? Is that economic empowerment? You get what I mean? We need more women in policy-making positions. Then it's important for them to understand how the game is being played. It's a game of numbers. So when you empower a woman economically and she's not educated, she's not politically inclined, that doesn't serve our purpose.
Okay, we'll talk further about this, but let's just take this next report, which focuses on the role of Iyaloja in our community today. Of course, we can't talk about Iyaloja without talking about market.
Played by women has ensured the stability, progress, and long-term development of various societies. Larger percentage of the Nigerian women are contributing to the development of the nation through the informal sector. Their lives revolve around the family, farm, and marketplace. In the marketplace, we have 2 categories of women in the retail business: the village women who sell surplus foods from their farms, and the urban-based traders who buy from the middlemen and sell to the consumers. Whichever category a market woman belongs, her life is a story of resilience, perseverance, and survival.
Because of the dynamics of how the market runs, we have the role of women leaders to be able to oversee the activities of women in the market. You will agree with me that where there's no leadership, there's no orderliness. So what the market leader woman does is she oversees every woman that sells in the market. She oversees their welfare, their financials, how they run their business, and it gives them a covering from the touts, from the unions and all of that. So if you are in the market and you do not belong to the association, you are shortchanging yourself, because the day you are in trouble, there's nobody to stand up for you.
Women have mastered the art of surviving the stress of the marketplace and society by forming and promoting market women associations were dated back to 1932 when Alimotu Belewura, the first Iyaloja of Lagos, led market women in the protest against direct taxation of women by the colonial government. It is also on record that the Egba market women led by Funmilayo Ransom Kuti rejected the flat rate tax for women, which forced the then Alake of Egba land to abdicate in 1948.
Number one criteria is passion. Number two criteria is integrity. We make sure that we select people that have integrity and that have leadership skills. They have good communication skills, because you must be a leader that can empathize with another woman. So if you put someone there that has that is very temperamental, of course, when a woman comes to you and she's maybe she's angry, you also get angry. So we usually look for people that are cool-headed, people that have empathy, people that can carry other women along, people that can be role models. So we don't just select, and then we ensure that you must be in that market. You must also be selling in that market. An outsider can never be a woman leader. So for all our women leaders in all the market, Amak, Gariki, Buhari, Kuje, Lube, all of them, they have their shops stationed in the market. So when you get to the market and you say, I'm looking for woman leader shop, everybody in that market knows where it is.
From the colonial era to date, market women, through structured leadership, have continued to play a significant role in the Nigerian society despite numerous constraints.
Really educated. So there are people that they don't know their demands. They cannot really go out there and demand what they need. So for we in the leadership position that are well exposed, we ensure that we go and get their rights. We be their voice. So some of the benefits we bring to them is when we see opportunities at that level, we look for how to scale it down so that they can also partake of it. We do some trainings, capacity trainings, particularly bookkeeping, because we found out that sometimes when we bring some banks to them, book is always a problem. So we now look for some professionals that will come and teach them how to keep their books using very, very, very simple way of reaching out to them. So we do that. We also have the thrifts that we put together, also like that, to give them working capital. We also we're looking at having an health insurance. Though we've not implemented that, but we're also looking at that because we found out that a lot of them, they don't go to the hospitals.
Though the struggle for women participation in leadership and decision-making is still very much a challenge in the country, market women and their leadership have become a force to be reckoned with in the Nigerian polity. The struggle is real, but for the Nigerian market women, the horizon stays hopeful.
Well, it's very obvious that Nigerian women can no longer afford to work in isolation. You must be part of a group so that at least, some issues can be helped. Some issues can be resolved when, you team up. And coming back to you, Lola Ibrahim, as a women advocate, gender advocate, there's this statistic that says women run 30% of registered businesses around the world, but only 10% of that number have access to capital needed to, grow their businesses. What needs to happen really to change this narrative?
Okay, so I'll just take off from where the last speaker in the report, what she just said. There are a number of issues that need to be addressed. Why do we have income inequality? You have retrogressive taxation. You have policies that keep somersaulting and keep changing. And then you have unequal access to finance. A lot of women either do not have bank accounts or do not have the required documents that will enable them have access to some of these credit facilities. And for those that are in the informal sector that run small businesses, paperwork is really, really important. She mentioned something about bookkeeping. So if you're not able to have all of those things in place, it's difficult or nearly impossible for you to have access to a lot of funds that are flying around. And then apart from that, you also need literacy, either ICT or the basic literacy. So when you don't have this, you cannot have all of the, you cannot have access to funds to either scale up or to, increase your capacity to produce more. And then there's also the aspect of marketing. If you're producing and people are not aware of what you have or what you're selling, how does that help your market? So there are a number of indices, you understand, that, keep affecting some of these women's businesses.
Before you go, of course, you have a foundation where you advocate for gender equality, violence against women, and exploitation. Now, quickly talk to me about the need to speak up when women are being violated against, when women experience violence against them. Talk to me about the relevance of speaking up, because that's what you did at some point, and then somebody had to invite you to the United States of America just because you spoke about your experiences.
Okay, so first of all, there are various types of violence, and then when people talk about violence, they think it's only physical. So violence can be emotional, it can be psychological, it can be physical as well, it can be financial, because there's also economic violence when you don't allow the woman to work, or when she works and you tell her, okay, give me your salary. That's also violence in some form.
Really?
Yes, men do that.
Men do that.
Yes, they do that. There are several women, even in urban areas, there's violence against women. People, when you talk about violence against women, they think it's only in rural setting. No, it's economic violence when I work and then my husband tells me that I should give him my salary. Then I don't have a say.
What kind of man is that?
People do that, Suleiman.
It's not, you did not work. Somebody sweated for this, and then you want to demand for the proceeds from that work?
Absolutely. And women do it. They submit their salary to the husband, and the husband takes the decision on how she will spend the money. It's violence. So it's important for people to understand what kind of violence you're in, and then it's also important for the society to stop stigmatizing and silencing women. It's that mental torture. It's terrible. I wouldn't want to speak about what I went through. So it's important for people to understand that, look, violence against women exists in various forms, and it's perfectly okay for you to seek help. It doesn't mean you're different, and it doesn't mean that you're doing something that is totally unheard of when you seek for help. Because when you come out and say, this is what I went through, or this is what I'm going through, people are like, your mother went through it, go and manage it, go and keep quiet. And so many people have died because of that. You understand? You're dying in silence, you cannot seek help. So there are various forms of violence, and it's important for people to seek help when they need to. And it's equally important for the society to understand with the woman, the family unit especially, to find out what she is going through and how they can come in to help. And it's not okay for you to keep quiet and die in silence, because you're staying there because of the children, or you're staying there because people will see you as a divorcee or as a single mom. No, your first priority is for you to be okay. Once you're okay, every other thing falls in place.
Well, your first priority is to be okay, and once you're okay, every other thing falls in place.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for sharing your thought with us. And also, women need to re-strategize from all you have said to move their cause forward.
Absolutely.
Very
we need to
important.
stop working in silos. We need to come together. Yes.
To unite for the common good of humanity. Let's go on a break, and after that the show continues. But know that this show is participatory. You can send us your messages and questions, observations, and of course we get to share that with the rest of the world. We've been chatting with Lola Ibrahim. She's a gender advocate and a property consultant, also President of Women Against Violence and Exploitation Foundation. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's go on the break. Thank you for staying with us. And, oftentimes we have said on this show that the one sure way to grow our economy is by turning inward, patronize made in Nigerian products. Now we have several products, across board, and kuli kuli is one snack that I know a lot of Nigerians, always, want to snack on. Of course, if you have your gari, you can be taken with bread, yam. It's very flexible. It can, fit in many different circumstances. And this next story you're about to see, let me say, it's very close to home. Let's take this.
Kuli is a snack from the West African region, especially Nigeria. It is a delicacy from the northern part of Nigeria, mainly made with bologi groundnut and Kampala groundnut. A business run by women for sustainability, it has the capacity of employing 20 to 30 people, youths or elderly. Many families have made a living from its sale of kuli kuli. It is a delicacy enjoyed by many people. There are Sokoto kuli kuli, Gwada Beiko, and Bida.
We inherited this kuli kuli business from our grandparents. We met them doing it. After their demise, we took over. We went to school with the kuli kuli business, married, and did other commitments. This is Bida kuli kuli. It is more delicious. A lot of ingredients are added to it. I used to sell 30 to 40 modus a day, depending on the flow of the market.
I like it because of the taste. It's giving me taste when I'm taking pap or I want to serve gari, other things. I like Bida kuli kuli more than another taste, something like that.
Hajia Gogo Adamu is 67 years old with 6 children, educated, hardworking, and charming. She is a businesswoman with a passion.
This business started when my stepmother, after the death of my husband, she was the one staying with me. And I was knitting, and I taught how to do this kuli kuli because I started it at Kagara. So when we came here, I started doing the kuli kuli. And when there is any workshop or seminar, I do take it. I always pack it in 50 naira then. So I would divide with the audience and the people that came for the workshop. After doing that, people, they started developing interest in buying the kuli kuli. So I would come back home, tell her to do 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. When they are going, they go with it. Anytime there is a seminar, even if I'm not part of the seminar, they will call me that they need kuli kuli or so and so. That was how we started. From health, UNICEF, when they have workshop, we go together. After the workshop, I will tell them about the kuli kuli and they will order for it. So that was how it started spreading. Before the pandemic, some people were buying 1.2, 1.3 kuli kuli. Then we were making it. It was this pandemic that took everything down. But with Allah's help, we started again. We are coming up. If not, we are doing kuli kuli every day. 2 bags, 3 bags. But now it's only 1 bag we are doing in a day. So, and if we do today, tomorrow we may not do. But before, at that particular time, if we do it today, it will take us 1 to 2 weeks before we do another one. There was a lady, she bought the kuli kuli. They took it to the garage. On reaching Lagos, she didn't have the delivery of the kuli kuli. That woman was really crying because her own was 1 point something. Financial, it really helped a lot because I'm a widow. I have children. 1992. That was when my husband died. Thank God they are all married and they have settled down. My happiest moment is When I started employing my neighbors, their children, sometimes them themselves, when they come here, they were about 20 before the pandemic. 10 will work today, tomorrow another group of 10 will work. And what I was doing, people that are coming from far, from Pakungu, Brighter, Boso, and then what is that name and distance? Shango. People were coming. So those that are coming from far, they will do today. The money I was giving them, because we are doing about 4 bags, so I was giving them 1,000. Those that are from far, I do give them transportation money. After leaving the knitting, I use that one. Even not my own children, because they are my neighbor's children, they do come to stay with me because of one problem or the other. So I train them. After getting what to do for livelihood, then they will get married and then go to their place. Spend my money on other people's children, and that is my begin. Even after my death, that is what I begin. But to say I save millions of naira in an account, I don't do it. I will encourage anybody that wants to do the business, because it's a good business. No matter what you put in front of you, and you are determined with good faith, you will see through it.
Well, I am inspired because I grew up with her. Yeah, we all call her Yaya in my family. Very, very wonderful woman, strong will, always ensuring that she impacts, the society positively. And yes, I have been part of the business as well, because I know the process. I also sell the same product that she makes. So she has managed to empower a lot of people. So yes, I love you, mother. All right, moving on from that inspiring story to another one. This time around, we focus on an educationist who is creative and trying to change the narrative of how schools are run in Nigeria. Let's take this.
Are very important to the prosperity of the world. They are key to sustainable development and quality of life in the family. It is always a thing of joy when a woman is able to carve a niche for herself, despite the challenges, especially in Nigeria. This is the story of Dr. Mariam Jumei Bello Yassin, a qualified and passionate teacher.
I'm from a poor background, very, very poor. My parents are not rich. After I have had my children, I went back to school in 1978. It was inside my husband's house. I did grade 2, did my NCE, did my degree, did my master's, and then did my doctorate degree. This school, it was when I saw how frustrated I was in the office. No promotion for 19 years. What I did was I started saving. Even since I got my first appointment, I knew I love teaching and I will end up being a teacher. So I bought a house at this Akko. So I was using it gradually, and I was into contribution, and I started paying any allowance, everything they give me. I was not spending it. I disciplined myself. My dad is late, and my mom is not strong to even fend for me. So, and I had children. So that was how I started. Then I got this land. I started doing it small until I retired. And when they gave me my retirement, I paid back all the money I collected and then jacked my school up. And that is how I started myself. For the love I have for school, I decided to make it a model, because I want my children, my students, when they are in SS2, they will go out of the country. If not for COVID, some of them would have moved. Go out of the country, spend 2 weeks in a European country like London.
When children learn new skills, they also build independence, confidence, and self-esteem. So the need to prepare the younger ones for tomorrow's challenges is inevitable.
I found out that education is just theory. What we learned in school is not what we are using. I said, look, I want to start a school whereby it is a Montessori school, because the school I studied very well, that I'm always interested in whenever I travel out, is a Montessori type of school. During holidays, we do these entrepreneurship activities, programs in this school. The children will come and learn. We have carpentry, we have barbing. Most of our children can barb. Most of them can make up. They can do a lot of things to add value to their education. Even if you are doing it as a trade, with their education, their packaging will be different. If I had known that I could do better in this business, I wouldn't have worked for government. But if I had established within 6 years what I'm seeing, I couldn't believe it myself.
Empowering women is an indispensable tool for advancing development and reducing poverty. There is no doubt that empowered women contribute to the health and productivity of the whole family.
Even while I was in Makurdi, we're at the Air Force Secondary School, we're at the Air Force Base Makurdi, I started empowering women since 1981. When I got my salary, I will take 10% of my salary out and keep it to assist the less privileged. I gather women on my own. If you go to Benue today, my barrack women, some of them who are still there, they will tell you, even in the town, some of them that got married like mine, who thought they cannot go further again. I told them my story. I brought them very close. I tell them what would they want to do. Some of them, I do partial sponsorship. Some of them, I give them money to be selling small things. Stand up and empower yourself. Stand up and reach out. We should go around and pick those who need help. Let us help them. I have scholarship here. Most of my essential workers, their children are here free.
Nigerian women deserve a whole lot of accolades and support, as their financial independence will go a long way to bring succor even to the man.
If you have job, you can assist your husband. We are the homemakers. They are the breadwinner. We cannot give them all the responsibility. How much is the Nigerian government paying for salary? That a woman will relax in the house and sleep and expect the man to carry the whole load. We need to support them.
Women's equal participation and leadership in political and public life are essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030.
They did very well for the First Lady to have gone there to agitate for. But then, let me tell you, we should not relegate ourselves to the back door and be saying they should give us certificate. Work hard to earn it. I believe in that. We are not the lower species. We can work hard and actualize what we want.
All hands must be on deck towards giving women all the support needed to excel.
Sun, please stand on the sun. Please shine down on, please shine down on, please shine down on me.
All right, the story of grass to grace, and we keep saying that if the necessary environment, the right environment is provided for the female gender, certainly nothing will stop in the way of their progress. And from a successful educationist to a successful politician, yes, we have a politician journalist in the studio in the person of Senator Gugu Grace Folashade Ben, CON. She was a senator that represented the people of Adamawa South from 2007 to 2011. She was the senator there. She was the chairman Senate Committee on Environment and Ecology. I dare to say that she was the first female senator in the northeast of Nigeria. Welcome to our studio, Senator.
Thanks for having me, Suleiman. It's always my pleasure.
Now, let's, rewind back to Beijing conference. Of course, after it was more like a game changer, when we talk about equal participation, equal representation for the women folk vis-a-vis the male-dominated, society that we found ourselves in. Would you say we have made appreciable progress from what we had, the, resolutions then and the reality today?
Well, the very sad reality is that we have not made any remarkable progress in respect of domesticating the 35% affirmative action of the Beijing agreement. It saddens my heart today that while we're preparing for the National Women's Day, International Women's Day rather, Nigeria had a major setback in our quest to, enlarging the coast for women participation in politics and by extension decision-making process. Most leaders, past leaders, not all, but most of them have oftentimes played lip service to this policy. And the more we try to derogate and disparage the women folk in their quest to wanting to be heard, in their quest to wanting to be part of decision making for the country, for the unborn generation, and for the world, then you know that you are sitting on the keg of gunpowder. No nation that wants to consolidate its democracy will shy away from, wanting to involve women in politics, as it were. And then when you talk of politics, you define it from different levels. You have the elective level, you have the appointive levels. I mean, these are the two most prominent levels that we have. And then on the two levels, I want to tell you that it's not yet Uhuru. It's not anything to celebrate for us women in Nigeria today. We are rather in a very, very sorrowful mood. We're disheartened. Our hearts are bleeding because the Nigerian men that are representing us in the National Assembly, whom the women folk, by and large, stood their grounds and deferred every form of distraction to stay on the line, under the rain, under the sun, scorching sun a lot of times, to vote for them and send them to the National Assembly in Abuja. These are the same men who have turned round today. Tuesday was a sad day for us in this country, 1st of March. I watched the proceedings on the television and I was weeping. My heart I suffered huge palpitation because some of these men that I have huge respect for disappointed me that day.
Well, Senator Bent, if you look at a lot of critics have come out to say that perhaps the Nigerian women are not really to face the reality of what politics is like in the country, because politics is a game of number, and then it's like women are not ready, that women are seeing politics as something that is like the pretu and pratu of the princess and her playmate has play.
Well, that is some interpretation from some quarters about the passiveness or activeness of the women, in terms of wanting to help one another and projecting themselves and making them to be heard. You see, as a parliamentarian, I have sponsored a lot of bills, and I know that any bill, talk less of a bill that protects the interests of the women, goes through a lot of process. And then where you may want to fault is probably wanting to say, yeah, because I had some people trying to give that interpretation to the scenario that happened in the National Assembly on Tuesday, that the women didn't do enough underground work and so on and so forth. You have about.
Isn't that the case?
I don't think so.
Because
I don't think so.
The men are saying, the senators, some of them are saying that maybe when there was public hearing on some of this bill, about 5 of them, that there were.
But you've had the women. The women have come out to deny that. The women went for the public hearing. They were there, and you must understand that In the Senate, I take an example of the bill that was sponsored by Senator Olujimi on the Equality bill. Yeah. And that's such a bill. There's nothing, I see it as a straitjacket bill that shouldn't be contentious, that shouldn't be subjected to unnecessary debate. If you want to use religion and culture to limit women, then such men have lost it. It's not equality. Even from the Creator himself, God Almighty, did not say that men and women are not equal. Equal in the sense of right to live, right to be heard, right to participate in politics, right to own your property, right to take decisions that concerns your person. These are fundamental rights of every human being, and that gives you equality. As much as a man wants such rights, the woman deserves such rights. So when you deny a woman's right, you have denied human rights. So woman right is human right. So for anybody to say equality bill is like women wanting to contend with the men is like a competition, is so sad.
But really, what can women do differently in order to change the narrative? Because
I have been a politician.
Exactly, that's my point. Some are saying that because you were once there, you know the politics, you know how to lobby and all of that. Perhaps you would have used your experience to guide some of these bills that were sponsored, and to at least get the passage of get it passed.
We have equally very experienced women in the National Assembly, but very few. And the majority carries the day. No woman, like I've always talked and spoken to our women at different fora, nobody gives you this position on a platter of gold, especially when it comes to elective office. I ran at a time that it was almost impossible for a woman to get to that level of representation in the country. It was a tough one for me. I had about 8 men to contend with, but one thing was pushing me through all the way: my focus, my determination, my doggedness, my tenacity, my resilience. Because I had made up my mind. I told my husband, look, this thing, if you want to go for it, you go all out for it. There's still so much intimidation. The Nigerian political space is still very murky for the women. And what happened on Tuesday, in the real sense of it, let me tell you, you see, the Nigerian constitution subsumes and supersedes any other law that you want to talk about. The Nigerian constitution is very clear on the participation of women in Nigeria in politics. It is their right, it is their fundamental right for wherever you are, wherever you want to contest. Your job as a woman is to make sure you're on ground. Make sure you have the grassroots appeal. Go to this grassroots. I've always been a grassroots politician.
I remember when you ventured into politics, you were nursing a baby then.
Yes. I started politics as a nursing mother. I was moving around and breastfeeding my baby, because I said this thing is not going to be a play, a toy game, as it were. I must put my all in all. And that baby is about 22 years today. So you could understand where I'm coming from. I became a deputy national chairman of my political party then, before we had a merger with the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and I became the political advisor. So I have rose through the ladder of politics. And that's what I tell our women. You must understand the language of politics. Politics is a very clean game, but the politicians play it dirty. I want to talk to you about the 35% affirmative action which was thrown away, which they wanted to amend, and that is to tell the political parties to, get it enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution. I don't think the National Assembly, women should lose hope completely about this. I tell you what, if our political parties have the interest of women at heart, they must, as a matter of urgency, enshrine this in their own individual constitution, the individual constitution of their political parties. And all they need to do is take such proposal to the neck of their political parties and then subsequently move it to the convention. It gets ratified there. 35% affirmation action becomes enshrined in the party political constitution, not really the responsibility of the National Assembly. So I want women to focus their attention now on the political parties. Now that the National Assembly have done this disservice to the Nigerian women, we must talk to our political parties.
Now, talking about political parties,
Yes.
of course, at some point you were, you belong to the opposition
I was the political,
party, the PDP, and from there, and I know that we have always, talked about the lack of political ideology of some of our political
Yes.
parties, and even politicians. Now, I'm sure you left PDP for APC because you felt the ideology perhaps is kind of better than what you had before. Now, would you say that you are disappointed with your party so far?
Which of the parties? The APC that I am today?
Exactly.
I'm not.
Vis-a-vis women participation.
Well, it is not a sickness of the APC alone. It's a general sickness that has eaten deeply into the skin of all our political parties. Our political parties are not gender sensitive. And that is why you see our democracy is still dragging, is still crawling, because a nation that does not bring the women on board to consolidate the democracy is a failed nation. And Nigeria cannot realize its full potentials. Outside of the women, you have sound, articulate, cerebral women, women with great pedigrees, women with proven track records, who you can bring on board, both at the elective level and the appointive levels. For example, I had the leader of the House of Reps stood up that day and was advocating for 20% slots for the women at the appointive level, for Mr. President. I want to tell him here that today it's not the responsibility of the National Assembly. The Constitution empowers the President at any point in time, whoever the President is. It is his own prerogative to decide the number of women he wants in his cabinet. And as such, if the President decides today to say, I want 100% women in my cabinet, so be it. It is not the responsibility, it is not the role of the National Assembly for them to determine or to dictate to the President the number of women he should appoint into his cabinet. So I really don't understand. You see, I want to encourage our women. This thing is not over until it is over. We were going to fight this issue to logical conclusion in this country. It's a fight that will continue, and we will take it to levels. We will go to court, we'll get interpretation in the court up to the Supreme Court level, and let it be known, let it be said that today, if Nigeria, just like any world, is so sad in this 21st century, that Nigeria is still talking, that women are still, protesting. It is sad. It's our husbands should go home and just cover their heads in their pillows and rethink this.
Okay, now talking about rethinking, the whole process, some people are actually saying that perhaps this political empowerment should come at par with economic empowerment, which is very critical. Perhaps if you even have women who are economically empowered, perhaps it will easily influence the political space in the country.
Yes, economic empowerment is very critical. It has been the bane that has affected the women folk very badly, especially the ones going into politics, because unfortunately for us in Nigeria, our political terrain is still being hijacked by the money bags, and we still need a lot of orientation. We need to go to the grassroots. We need to go to the electorates and let the electorates understand that, look, over 50% of Nigeria's population is the women. So if you have over 50% of the Nigerian women as the teeming populace, members of the teeming populace of this country, and then you are telling me that out of this over 50% population that we have, you can only afford 20% of those women to be partake in politics? No. 20% of women for you to get them economically empowered? No. We must go across board. Every woman in whatever endeavor, in whatever what do you call it, whatever
field you
decide to go into, you must be given every necessary level playing ground. Because you know what the scientists have just discovered, medically speaking, the intelligence of the girl child. A girl child is so intelligent. I've said it a couple of times during my interviews, how my father helped in shaping my life and political.
I know at some point when he had to read a speech, he will have to call you, hand over you the script for you
my
to
father,
read. And then that helped,
a lot. I didn't know my father was preparing me. My father saw certain things in me that I didn't see in myself.
Well,
my father saw in me a brave, bold, courageous child, girl child, and he leveraged on that. And lo and behold, today it has added to my political sagacity, as it were.
That is what we are actually, encouraging a lot of people to do, to give
a lot of
that
parents,
opportunity.
a lot of fathers,
the
fathers that are in the National Assembly, who have daughters, must know that this thing that they did on Tuesday is going to be have a ripple effect, and it will consume them too, because their daughters are going to grow, and you see the children of these days. I mean, politics, democracy has come to stay in Nigeria.
Maybe they don't want their daughters to be part of politics.
Who can you cannot determine the fate of your child. You can't dictate what your child goes into. I mean, any parent that does that is doing that, is committing a sin against God and against that child. You cannot determine a child's destiny has been preordained. You cannot say, if my father knew I was eventually going to dabble in the politics, probably he would have discouraged me. But it has been written, and there I am today.
Well, thank you very much. And you have quite done, a lot, in the political space, and let's say, representing the women folk. You have actually, represented the gender really well. And thank you for sharing your time with us. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you. We've been talking with Senator Gogo Grace Folashade Bensio, the first female senator from Northeast Nigeria. And I close with a gift Benjamin from Akwa Ibom's message. He says, I think women should be adored and supported. I agree. Bye for now.
We can do